For now, you're a coach, but maybe like tiny small percent.
No. At this point, there's no way I can play it. It's just a grind that you have to do nonstop. And now that I'm behind, I have to grind harder. And then at that point, it's like, yeah.
Hey there, everybody. Parks Ousley here, and I'm joined by 100 Thieves assistant coach Mithy. Mithy, I think you're 8-5. I could be wrong there, but you guys are on an upswing coming into the second half. You're shooting towards playoffs. I know that obviously playoffs are very important, so those are the games that you need to win. How are you feeling right now about your team's performance and kind of the trajectory that you're on as we head into the postseason?
Of course, feeling pretty stoked. I think it's like our first 2-0 this
I didn't realize.
So, pretty big. Probably going to go celebrate after. Overall, we had like a meeting like halfway through the split because things weren't really working out. They tested some things like from summer to spring, give the guys a little bit more space, and we just sort of like regrouped, talked about some things a little bit, and focus harder on practice. And I think it has been showing like internally. We definitely noticed a lot of progress the last 2 weeks. So happy about that. But obviously, we're still not playing at our best. And definitely a lot of room to improve, but I think it feels like we're progressing, so I think everyone should be very happy about that.
I would say externally it also looks like you're progressing, and the 2-0, as much as the best of ones are just kind of a coin flip and somewhat random, that 2-0 is nice.
Yeah, it feels
so
good.
Congratulations. I did want to actually check in. I think looking at the offseason with 100 Thieves keeping the same roster and everyone else making changes, it was kind of like, okay, well, 100 Thieves should come out really hot. And I think we've heard some from players that like, oh, there was still an adjustment. Like you take 3 months off or whatever. You do still have to kind of get back into the groove. Can you talk at all about like some of the conversations that you had about the changes that you made from earlier when things were still a little rusty to now when they're kind of getting back into shape?
I think it's harder for me to say since I wasn't there last year with them. But I could generalize. I think they had like a rocky, like after summer, like the whole Worlds bootcamp got a bit screwed up for them because of visa issues. Even though they did play well, like at Worlds and, sort of like beat EDG and stuff, they did feel pretty iffy. That's sort of the vibe I got. And then they took a break. They knew they were going to be same roster, and the players didn't really come in like too hot. Even though we bootcamped in Korea, it did feel like we were very rocky and all over the place and not on the same page about a lot of things. And it's been a gradual improvement from there. And then on top of that, I think like on a personal note, like the players really, gave like their heart and soul for summer, and they wanted to see if they could, balance like life and work a little bit better. And I think we as staff gave them a bit more space to do that. And, since we started slumping a bit, so we're, trying to go back into like a bit more of a playoff form, kind of thing. So, I think it's just like a very natural thing, especially for spring, for like staff and players to test things and see how it goes.
Yeah, of course. I do have a question about the roster. Obviously, they did add on Tenacity, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure he just played like a game or two in lock-in. I don't think we've seen him otherwise. Is that still something that like the team is looking to use a 6-man roster, and like you just have to make sure that the first 5 are really solid and then he'll come in, or what is the development there?
Yeah, we definitely want to try and use Milan. It's just a question of like, so like during the boot camp and during like the first few weeks, Someday was just clearly like performing better and pretty well. Like maybe took all of our MVPs. Like it was even clear on stage that he was definitely our backbone at the time. And just the whole like you said, like the team as a whole was not doing well, and it just felt like adding one more person, regardless of whether he's Gumayushi off top lane or not. It would just create more chaos in our team, and we just sort of needed to have like a good foundation to start building on that. So, I mean, it sucks for him, and I mean, he's been looking at our scrims and trying to help us wherever we can, and we're slowly trying to like give him some time. But we also need to care for like the team success in general, and it's like we are trying to make him play and make it work, but it's important that we don't sort of like scramble all the cake by doing that, so you just have to tread carefully.
No, that's very fair. I would love to see him. I think having a sixth man would be really fun, like having two play styles.
I mean, of course, theory wise it sounds fantastic, right? But if we're not doing well, like experimenting with that might just like create a lot more chaos. And as long as we're not doing like really poorly, and then at that point might as well experiment. But we're at the point where we sort of thought we could pick ourselves back up, which we feel like we're doing, so it just didn't make sense at the time. I agree. But thank you for that insight. I want to talk some about your career. You have been a coach, I think that you're going into your third year, or you're now like partway into your third year as a coach. So you were with Fnatic, Cloud9, now you're at 100 Thieves. All very great, strong teams, so I'm sure that feels nice. But I am wondering, we've seen a bunch of players move into coaching positions. Some of them then are just like, not for me, and retire. Some are like, not for me, and they come back to playing, like we see Bjergsen playing right now. And then some stay with it for a long time. And so you're now in your third year. I'm curious, like, what is your thought on your career now? Are you just a coach? Like, you're super happy being a coach and you really love it? Do you still feel like, sometimes I really, I wish he wasn't out there. I wish that was me, How are you feeling with that? Well, I think that since I was a pro player before, I think it is very fair for me to have that like feeling of like, I could do that. I could like just put me on stage. I can play sort of thing. But I mean, honestly, realistically speaking, I was just tired of the grind and like having to play with new teammates that were not on the same page as me, and trying to align them to play as a team with me, and at the same time having to grind the amount of hours that I was having to grind. And I just I did it for 8 years, and I just didn't have the fire in me to do it with a new team again, of players that I didn't know. And that's sort of why I joined Fnatic, because I sort of just wanted to keep my knowledge level at a high level. And then the whole coaching experience was very challenging, a lot more challenging than I thought. So I just sort of got inspired by that, and I was like, okay, can I do things better next year? Can I create systems that can sort of transcend from year to year, and that I can sort of build on my ideas and help the players align themselves without having to deal with the baggage of having to grind. I mean, definitely other stuff you have to deal with as a coach. So that's also something that I'm trying to work on and learn. I mean, I do think it's exciting, and it is very hard at times to sort of understand how you can help and how you can develop yourself as a human being to help the players develop themselves as human beings too. It is fun for sure. I mean, I don't really have anything else to say. I do sometimes feel like I want to play 8 hours a day for a long time, but then I don't want to play at all for another month, So I think it's just a natural. I don't know how long Bjerg and these guys are gonna last for. I mean, Core is my age or older maybe, and he's playing fantastic too. So I don't know. I think it's just depending on the personality. Hard to say. Yeah.
So you think, at least for now, you're a coach, but maybe tiny small percent.
No. At this point, there's no way I can play it unless I'm playing in a very low tier league and I'm trying to develop the new guys. I don't think I have the level, because it's just a grind that you have to do nonstop. And now that I'm behind, I have to grind harder, and then at that point it's I don't want to do that. It's just too hard.
Okay, you're good, man. What was the biggest thing that changed for you when you were a coach? You said that you had to learn about yourself and learn how to develop yourself so that you could help the players develop. What was the biggest thing?
It was the same thing as a player, right? As a player, you sort of get that once you are a veteran for a long time and you're playing with new guys, like you want to be like a leader in some way. Like you want to try and like develop your human skills, not just like play and not talk to the guys. And like you want to develop yourself as a player. That's something everyone does. And as a coach, it's just the same, just in different ways. And you also have to, talk to higher up too, and like sort of like plan for the future and like be on the same page with some things and try to help the players. But like, for example, for me, it was something that I struggled a lot with, is like trying to create that separation between coach and player. Like all of these things, I guess it's just very basic things, but it's not like, I'm just sort of like learning as I'm just growing as I'm doing. So it is challenging sometimes, but it is very fun too. So yeah, that is what it is. But I do think, like, just to answer your question, I think that the biggest thing I had to deal with, I think it's like an identity. Like how, like, since I'm like 16 years old, 15 years old, I play. My name tag's been Mithy my whole life. I knew I was going to be a pro player since very little. And that was sort of like, where my identity took me. And then just sort of like having that, like, to step back from that and being like, okay, I'm not a player anymore. I'm not, playing in front of people anymore. I don't have like all of these fans supporting me and stuff. And my ego is like sort of like whether I win or I lose. I mean, I don't want to go into too much depth, but I think like that's like the biggest thing is like that identity change that I've been trying to deal with like throughout this 2 or 3 years. You have to start like looking at yourself for yourself rather than like seeing what others are all like saying. And all the constant attention. Yeah. A lot of that. Yeah. That's tough. Yeah, that can be very tough. Thank you so much for meeting up, for doing an interview. Yeah. Is there anything you want to say to 100 Thieves fans that are like kind of on the edge of their seats? Because Cloud9 and TL are pretty strong. Anything you want to tell them about, like, oh, we got a plan, like we're gonna take them out in playoffs? Well, I mean, they'll have to wait and see for that. We are working very hard. Like my personal feeling about 100 Thieves right now is like fans are awesome, org is awesome. There's a lot of fans that don't even know about leagues, so it's a pretty huge org in many ways, and hopefully everyone like sticks with us and believes in us. I know we are might not be quote unquote the favorites right now, but I think that's sort of like the scheme for 100 Thieves so far. So we're kind of like playing our cards just as we usually do. So yeah, just stay in it. Yeah, we'll see. It can't be a heist if you like already have everything. Yeah, if we're favorites, then it can't really be a heist, can it? Yeah, you got to go steal it from one of the others. Well, thank you so much for the interview. I really do appreciate it. Thank you all for watching. I don't know if I'm ever going to have any more videos because my life is up in the air, but please like and subscribe. And, maybe I'll be back next week. Thanks again.